but nice to see everybody. Thanks for joining. So this is a more casual forum, and I'm just excited to talk about some things that are new with money in 2026. So, all right, let's do some quick introductions.
Yes. So, hi, all. My name is Prisca. I'm a money coach, and I help professional women create a plan for their money that allows them to live their best life now while securing their dream future. And so, my goal mainly is to make money simple and easy for the average Joe and Jill, okay? Mainly Jills. So, I work with women primarily one on one to create a custom budget that does fit their life and helps them feel great today while also securing their future.
Wonderful. Thanks, Prisca. My name's Genevieve Anderson. I am an accredited financial counselor and finance coach, and I help women improve their money mindset, create systems to manage their cash flow, and learn to invest. And I do this mostly through high touch one on one coaching, but I also do some seminars for work groups and things like that as well.
And just
So
a
we
funny
are,
story I wanted to share real quick, Genevieve, is that we
yes,
actually met technically at a FinCon, which is a conference for financial content creators. So this is where a lot of us do meet to confer with ideas and collaborations. And we're like, she did a presentation with another coach, and I was like, oh, let's talk about collaborating. So that's how me and Genevieve came to meet, and that we thought to bring the session to you today.
yeah, I know. I'm so glad you reached out. Whatever space that you're in, collaboration can be a pretty powerful thing. And quite frankly, stuff is just more fun with friends. Fun doing things together with somebody else than all on your own. So, collaboration over competition, totally. Cool. Let's get into some topics. So, the theme of tonight's Q&A is going to be about like what's new and what's coming up for 2026. What can you prepare for? So we have a couple of topics that we are going to cover first. Then we also have a couple of questions that were submitted maybe by you, maybe by somebody else who was registering for this. So we'll cover those. And then we will take your questions, whoever ends up being live here as well. So our first topic is around interest rates. So, what are interest rates going to be doing in 2026? And maybe how is that impacting any real estate decisions that we're going to be making? So, Prisha, if you want to start, I'll kick it off to you and then I'll feel free to add in anything else that, might come to mind as
Okay, so when it comes to interest rates, we know we kind of expect things to kind of drastically fall. I don't say drastically, to fall, continue to fall, which means that your high yield savings accounts are going to decrease, right, in terms of how much interest you're going to be getting. I like to point this out though, that it's going to increase across the board. So I don't encourage, not to say you should or should not, but I don't encourage hopping around to find a higher interest rate because it's going to happen across the board. So I'm very much in the camp of keeping your money as simple as possible so that you don't have to have all the mind drama about it. And this is one of the things that I would just say you see it happening, know it's going to happen everywhere, and that's the case. Also, on the flip side, it also means interest rates on debt could come down. So when you think about your credit card debt, even mortgage rates, things like that, that's where we would expect to see that. So how does that impact your decisions? Of course, we aim not to have high interest debt, period, right? You want to get that out of your life because that gets in the way of your financial freedom, just period. However, it does give you more room for negotiation even with your credit card providers. Hey, is there a way you could do this now if you wanted to, but even more so as the interest rates are coming down, call them and see if they could decrease the interest rate on a high interest debt so that your debt payments could go further and get you out of debt much faster.
classic mistake. I love that. One thing I will just add to that is maybe the decision of real estate. So a lot of times when we talk about rates, I tend to agree with you as well. I also think that rates will likely drop. I don't think they're going to be dropping too crazy, but I
Mhm.
do think that we're going to see some slight decreases over the course of 2026. And a lot of people think, what about real estate? Is now my time to buy a house if I haven't bought a house already? And it could be, maybe. But when it comes to real estate, I always encourage people to think about more than just rates when it comes to your decision to buy and is now the time to buy. Rates should have something to do with it, but also how much savings do you have? How much is that going to affect your cash flow? What is your lifestyle like? Do you really want to be, tied down to a house? Some people, yes, some people, no. what kind of flexibility do you want in your financial life? Because remember, once we're in a mortgage, a house is an illiquid asset. It doesn't mean that we can sell it just like this in most cases, right? So when it comes to real estate, if buying a house is a goal that you want to have happen and all of those other things are aligning, I certainly think 2026 could be a great year to do that. But you want to look at more than just the rates. You want to make sure it aligns with every other aspect of your finances. Cool. All right. So let's talk about savings in 2026. You talked a little bit already about high yield savings accounts, kind of what that looks like. But how much cash do you think is going to be enough this year? What should people be striving to?
So I think it, of course, varies per person. Usually you want to have at least 3 to 6 months of emergency savings, right? That's the standard you've heard. Lately, though, because of what we've seen in the last year or so, where a lot of people are losing jobs and it's more challenging to find another one, it's more encouraged to do more of the 6 to 12 months. Okay. And that way you can feel secure, not panicked when these things are happening. So how do you decide what's 3 to 6 months of expenses or 6 to 12 months? Usually you want to go with like living expenses, cutting out the things like anything that you would cut out if you had no job. Don't include that, but you do have to keep the roof over their head, right? You have to keep making your car payments, your insurance payments, those kind of things. Anything that you wouldn't cut out if you lost your job, you add that up, see how much that is for the month, and then extrapolate that by 6, by 12 to figure out what your number is. And then ideally, you want to keep that money in a high yield savings account because obviously you want to have it liquid in case you do need it, but at the same time, earning as much interest as possible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm definitely encouraging my clients to save, at least that 6 month, even push beyond that. And I'll be honest, my own household, I used to be kind of like a lean saver. We have two people that are working in the home. I don't have any children, so our costs are pretty slim, which is great. And I used to keep more like 3 months emergency fund, and we are starting to beef that up in our own household. And that's what I'm suggesting to a lot of my clients as well. I've had multiple clients unfortunately go through a job loss or job insecurity this year. So I think it's something that more people unfortunately are going to experience. And for that reason, I 100% agree with you to push towards that 6 to 12 month number. So that's going to be a big change, in my opinion, and for my own personal life for this year versus last year. All right. And are you also dropping links in the
Links related
chat?
to the stuff we talked about, yes.
Perfect.
Oh, and
Okay.
before we continue, I do want to say that if you do want more of our content, we both do have email lists where we share, these tips and these things on a regular basis instead of a one-off session. So we'll both drop the links to join our email list.
Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Kind of a similar situation, or sometimes what is a fun situation. It is tax time, which means that maybe you're paying, maybe you're kind of even, or maybe you're getting a refund. So what are some things that we could do with that refund this year?
So I personally have a separate budget for any time I get bonus money. So that's irregardless of whether it's a tax refund, someone handed me money, 3 paycheck months. Anytime there's a bonus at work, I have a set budget that's set by percentages to go. So I don't have to think about it again. When I say I like my money simple, I like my money simple. Okay. So once I put this number, whatever it is in that calculator, it tells me exactly how much should be going towards my savings, how much goes towards spending. Because depending on your situation, you might feel like you want to put it all towards that, but I would encourage you to enjoy some of it because I really want your money to be enjoyable. So some of it goes towards spending for me. Some of it goes to long-term savings, which I consider my investments. And then some of it goes into my sinking funds for like things like vacations and things like that.
I love this. I love it when, you're not always going to get finance coaches and professionals who link up, but sometimes you do. And today you do. So I have a very similar system, and I encourage clients to have a very similar system where you have a set formula for that bonus income. Our household, my husband works and he gets a bonus every 4 months. And so we use this formula all the time. It is so nice and so handy. And I agree. Think about buckets that make the most sense to you. If you are paying down high interest debt, 100% that, some of that money should go towards paying down that debt. If you are not at that 6-month emergency fund, then that's a great place for that tax refund to go. And then obviously saving for anything else that may be coming up that year, investing in long term savings. And absolutely, no matter what you do, make sure you enjoy some of it. So pick a percentage. I feel like 10% sounds about right, but maybe up, maybe down, depending on where you are and what your goals are, and put it towards something that is really fun, really amazing, and, treat yourself. Just enjoy it. It's important. Money's supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to all be serious.
Mhm.
I promise. All right. So we also wanted to talk a little bit about increasing costs. I know a lot of us have felt that inflation is still happening, especially in certain subsectors of our spending. So talking about shopping more intentionally in store with brands directly, more transparent pricing. So I'm going to let you start off with this one, and then I have a couple of ideas as well. So what are some best practices when it comes to adjusting for these increased costs?
Yes. And if you, as a person watching, have any thoughts about how you're managing this as well, please share in the comments. We love to chit chat back and forth. It's not just the Genevieve and Prisca show. But when it comes to increasing costs, I remember I just want to start off by saying when COVID first hit, right? And everything was like, the prices were insane. I was like, okay, how am I going to manage this? So first off was changing how I was buying things. So before that, I was buying mostly all organic, all this, and then I changed. Does that mean that you have to change? No, I'm just saying this is what I did, right? Instead of just, oh, the prices, it's okay, what are we going to do about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as of late, one of the things I've been learning is one, that shopping in person has its pros and cons, right? Shopping, because stores are built to make you buy. So being in there can lead you to buy things that you don't really need. And then you're like, oh my God, where did my money go? It's, we did that. It's they are creating the environment for it, but it's up to us to take the onus of our money. So for me personally, Costco, don't let me step foot in there. Okay. So actually I have a list and I send my husband go shopping. He doesn't have a vision for anything. Oh, that might be good. Oh, that might be good. He just buys what's on the list, and that has helped me save buku money. Also, a lot of people do things like grocery pickup where you know what your budget is, you put it in, especially to the store. Less so Instacart, even though I know some people might do that, but like to the store. Let's say in New Jersey, we have a lot of ShopRites. ShopRite pickup, what's the name? You just, purchase the items on the app are going to be the same as in the store. Okay, which is another great benefit. And then they bring it to your car, so you're not so enthused by all the things, and you sure stay on budget. A lot of people use Walmart pickup too. So those are.
Yeah.
And the thing that is like where I talk about things like Instacart or even your DoorDashes or all these things like that, where things are inflated on purpose, right? When it comes to these things, like you will never, every time I use Instacart only for reference to know what's in my Costco. Okay. When I look at it and I'm like, I know this is at least $2 more than it is in the store.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on top of that, you're paying delivery fees, you're paying whatever other fees, right?
Good tip.
So, yep. It's like so again, I'm not trying to tell people not to shop at Instacart, but be cognizant and knowing that, instead, if you do things with the store itself, much better in terms of, keeping more money, more dollars in your pocket. And then lastly, things like Amazon, like I prefer, if I can, to shop with the brand directly because first of all, I mean, a lot of people have different feelings about Amazon. I use them, but I don't love them, right? There's a lot of things there. But if already they're going to take a cut from this manufacturer, this brand, this creator, whatever, and then you could check the price and I could check the price and they could be two different prices. Whoa, that irks me. So let's cut out the middleman as much as possible and go direct to your some people can shop local farmers markets, things like that. Just try to and really build back into our community. I think that would be the best way to actually keep money more in our pockets.
Oh my gosh. Really, really agree with you there. I also find too, sometimes if you go direct to the manufacturer, they will have, you could sign up for an email, you get a little
Yep.
discount code. There's a lot more flexibility on that. And I agree with you. I use Amazon, but I really am trying to, that's one of my 2026 goals is to use it a little bit less. And totally agree with you with the grocery shopping in store. I kind of get, dazed and
Mhm.
confused and will pick up those items off the shelf that I don't particularly need. So I agree that sometimes just going directly and doing the online orders, you can see what you need. You can go through, I'm going through the fridge as I'm like going through the app, which is really nice. Maybe only one other thing that I would add as far as like intentional shopping and being mindful shopper, a couple of things you can do. You can rate sometimes your shopping experiences or your purchases. So trying to figure out like, did I use this? Did I not use this? Could I have done this differently? Am I really happy with this, purchase? So trying to rate that. And then you can try to understand like, what do I really love spending money on versus what am I kind of like blah? So, like, a great example, I had a client who she spent a lot of money eating out, but after kind of like reviewing a lot of her purchases every month, she realized that like she really only loved spending money eating out if it was in a group of her girlfriends. Like if she was eating out kind of on her own or picking up food to go or something like that, she's I actually hated that and it made me feel guilty and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So really identifying like what do I love spending money on and what things could I kind of let go and really focus on those couple of things that you love, spend money there, make yourself happy, and then find way to cut some cost, for the remainder of the pieces.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off that, Genevieve, because intention is very big, right? Like doing things on purpose versus doing things kind of like on autopilot is really going to make a big difference in how your money stretches in 2026 without having to feel deprived, feel like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't live a good life. Like it's so like in the last month or so, actually a little bit longer. I think 2 months ago, I was like, let me shop my pantry more, right? Before I
Yeah.
go to the grocery store. Do you know my grocery bill went from 650 on average a month to 350? I was like, that is
Wow.
insanity. Okay. Because I gave thought to the
That's
amount of food
crazy.
that is going in the garbage. And I'm like, I can be better with this, right? So
Yep.
intention is gonna take a lot, but sometimes a lot because life is so busy and like it's hard to find to carve the time to do it. But if it's important to you, then you're gonna make the time. And you can
Yeah.
create systems around it to make it simpler.
I agree. I like that idea. Shop the pantry
Mhm.
before. Awesome. Okay. Go ahead and leave in the chat some ways that maybe you are saving money while shopping. I would love to know because I will say this is not my number one area of expertise. So I'm always looking for new ways to use myself and to share with clients. And while you guys are thinking about that, we can move on to one of our next topics, which is buy now, pay later. So this has been a trend over, I would say, the last 2 years or so, really picking up a lot of steam. What are your thoughts on the buy now, pay later?
My thoughts on it, or is I hope it dies.
I
Okay.
do not
So
want this option.
I know there's different feelings about it because some people maybe have used different like they're in poor credit situations or no credit situations, and this gives you the a way to access credit, sort of. And so I see that as being a reason why some people may like it. However, it further to me just cements the idea that to afford things, you should take on debt rather than
Mm,
telling you that, hey, you can't afford this, so you should not get it. Okay. Which is ideally, I think the whole idea of just like fulfilling all our wants and desires
mm,
is making it so that we stay stuck in the debt cycle. We stay stuck in dissatisfaction because we don't ever get to appreciate anything. You just get it and you figure it out afterwards. Let's do the figuring out before. But let's just talk about what's out there in terms of buy now, pay later. So technically, this is kind of like I sort of like layoff, like what's it called, layaway plans back in the day.
yes.
Okay, even
Yes.
before
Oh,
I
I
think before
remember
our
those.
time, the layaway plans morphed into this buy now, pay later thing. But the thing with layaway plans, even too, usually you reserve the thing As far as I understood it, like you don't get the thing until you finish paying.
Oh yeah, I mean, from anybody who is from this time, like Kmart, layaway
Yep.
plan, like I definitely remember going with my mom to the Kmart and, she makes the payments on it like every month. And then like at the end of 3 months or something like that, they like wheel it out from the back
Yep.
of the storehouse. Or like Montgomery Ward, I think used to do that too. I'm
Oh,
probably aging
that's
myself,
funny.
but this is, yeah, yeah. So it works
But
a
now
little
this is,
different.
yeah, this is flipping it on the other way where you're getting the thing now, right? So you're getting that dopamine hit now, and then you're paying for it down the line. And this leads to people having payments like piled up, like coming out of their bank accounts like affirm, Klarna, Afterpay. It's just whoa, a crap ton of transactions versus just saving up for the thing you want and then thing. And this is not to be against payment plans, right? We're gonna have things like, you're financing your car, you're financing your house. And I like some either purchases like furniture and things like that, your huge appliances, like maybe you're even using it to some degree strategically, like you do have the cash, but like you want some more flexibility in your budget. So you do something where it's 0% interest for this amount of time. However, being dependent on these to afford things is where the problem is. So the examples like Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, PayPal, and Force, Sezzle. Now the credit card companies are doing things like this too, where if you make a big purchase, you may have noticed where it says, "Do you want to break this payment up? Into
Oh,
4 easy payments?"
yeah.
Yeah. So but usually they do come at a charge, a lot of them, unless they're trying to get you to try it and then they give you a 0%. But everybody's feeding into this game. And the thing is, the reason it exists is to make money, right? So if you're the client that they're trying to get the money from, so a lot of people like make the case that this is to make credit accessible, but the thing is it's actually keeping people stuck. So the further we could stay away from these things and actually just buy the things we want because we saved for it, we planned for it, that's going to put you in a much better position down the line. If you wind up being in a situation where you need to do one of these things, don't feel like crap about it. Like debt has its place. Some people have raging credit card debt because there was a medical
An
emergency,
event.
or maybe they lost a job and they feel like crap about it. No, some things have a place in our lives, but what are we doing with intention, with purpose, is what I want to say. Hey, if I did lose my job, I may have to rely on a credit card for a few months, and that's just the way it is for now, and I'm going to work on getting out of it. you know
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I also think that we have to be really mindful to anything that increases our fixed cost.
yes.
So think about your fixed cost or, your rent, your mortgage, your electricity, phone bill, internet, etc. So once we do one of these buy now, pay later plans, that now becomes part of our fixed cost. So now our fixed cost percentage immediately goes up, like quick, wow. And what that does is it reduces our variable spending moving forward. So what may seem like a freeing option at first, and it's, oh yeah, this will free up cash. Not really. It's only going to free up cash for that 1 month, perhaps. And then moving forward, it's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to make you feel more restricted because you're not going to have as much wiggle room on your variable expenses moving forward. So whether it's buy now, pay later, or whether it's something else, anything that is increasing your fixed cost. It could be even like a new app or a subscription, things like that. We want to be like super, super mindful of because that's where we can start to feel like really tight and oh, I don't have enough and I don't have enough wiggle room to live my life and do things and manage all the other things, right, that come up in our cash flow and our life cycle.
Agreed.
Cool. I think that was a really good discussion. I'm still learning even more about those programs, so I loved your take on that. So I appreciate you sharing. I think let's open it up to we have a couple of participants on live, which is wonderful instead of watching the recording. So I'd love to open it up to what questions do y'all have? And feel free to come off mute. I'm open to it. All right, I'm going to give you guys 1 minute and see if there's any questions. And then, or feel free to type them in the chat. And we can also go ahead and start answering a couple of the questions that people had submitted ahead of time. So one of those is going to be, while you guys are typing in the chat, is going to be, can you speak specifically to entrepreneurs who don't have a fixed income and how to think about spending, saving, and investing? I'm going to go ahead and start on that, and then feel free to add in anything that I might have missed or any other thoughts that you have. But one of my favorite ways when working with entrepreneurs and building out a system for their cash flow to handle different months and different income levels or C's, especially for a lot of entrepreneurs, is to use some sort of like a flow over account, you could call it, but basically a separate account that is not your emergency fund. It's different. It's going to be kind of like your fund to normalize your income. So what this looks like, let's say your average, look at your average income over the year is $2,000. But some months you make 5,000 and some months you make 1,000. That's just the way it is. So anytime you're making those $5,000 months, you're going to aim to put $3,000 into this flow over savings or separate savings account. Anytime you're making $1,000, now you can draw from that account. And what that eventually does, it's going to help normalize your income. It also helps you set your budget up so you have an understanding of what your cash flow plan is, and you can cash flow plan to kind of those average months. Now, if you've never done this before and you are starting from brand new from scratch, I would say you want to set your cash flow up to whatever your lowest month is. So in this kind of fake example that I'm using, it would be $1,000. So that's going to be your budget to start off with, knowing that you're probably earning more than that on most months. And it gives you a couple of months, maybe 6 months, up to a year to build up that flow over account. So that's my favorite way to use that. Anytime you can kind of normalize that income, it does take a little bit of time, but that time will be well worth it. And that way you have a lot of peace of mind going forward. And a lot of people actually say that using a system like this helps them even like in their work, because they don't feel like as pressured. Oh my God, if I don't make this, I'm not going to be able to afford blah, blah, blah. It kind of like lets you relax a little bit and ease into your system, which is really nice. And the other thing it does, it kind of prevents you from spending high and then spending low, that feast or famine that a lot of entrepreneurs feel. I know a lot of my past clients have said, when I make $15,000 in a month, I'm spending, I'm feel good. I'm spending, I'm treating my friends to dinner. You're doing all the things. But then the thing that stinks about that is that when I only make $3,000 a month, now I feel like I'm broke and like I've never earned a dollar in my life, and I'm eating ramen and life is horrible to me. So anything we can do to kind of normalize those variable income and release some of that pressure can be a great strategy. Have you used anything else?
I was saying similar because even though I work with people who do have 9-to-5 jobs primarily, but not everybody has, some people still do have variable income. I'm a nurse by trade. I did not mention that. And so nurses often they work, if they're full time, they work a certain amount of shifts, but even then it's not like your paycheck is exactly the same. And then if you work any overtime, even more so. So the only thing I tweak about what Genevieve said for one of my clients is just when you do have that extra money, I do like to have a separate budget for that money. So kind of like the similar of like when you get bonus money, it's like that way, because in the example you gave where, if they make 5,000 and then they, save the 3,000, I'd say save some of it because you do want that buffer.
Maybe
You do want a flow over account, guaranteed. But also you do want to enjoy it a little bit. So like
fair.
Give yourself a standard for how much you're going to put to the side when you do make over that, the flat number, which is the 2,000 in your example. That way you can put money in, sinking funds are big. I love sinking funds. Like, hey, maybe some money's going to go towards a trip because you have the extra money this time. Some money's going to go towards, more investing. So if you are an entrepreneur and you don't have things like, a work retirement plan, you can do an IRA, but there's also IRA options available to you Talk to a tax professional about this though. Whether the SEP IRA or if you're gonna do a solo 401k, like those are options to put that extra money towards, so that way you can get rich like the rest of them.
Yeah, I love that. And I love, kind of planned enjoyment. That makes it even
Yes.
more exciting. I always say, I love planning. I actually don't do the planning of the trips. My husband does the planning of the trips in our household, but I always get excited because look at this thing that I found. And like sometimes the anticipation is just as much fun as when you finally get to enjoy it. So that
Yes.
planned fun is great. Okay. And we have a question in the chat, which I love. And I'm just going to read out loud for everybody. So my kids, 17 and 22, inherited some money, about 25,000 each. How would you recommend they use that money for saving and investing? So first of all, what a big gift and big responsibility at such a young age. I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and then I would love to also get your thoughts. So my immediate thought kind of goes to starting a Roth IRA. That's a great time to do that. So a Roth IRA, remember, is going to be post-tax. You're kind of pre-paying those tax so you can get that tax-free income in the future. It's also going to be an account that tends to be somewhat flexible as you progress in life, which is great. And you would have plenty to at least fund for the first year. After that, there's multiple different ways that you can start investing that. You can use a regular brokerage account. You could use that as maybe an immediate funding for savings accounts, right? For your emergency account. I'm not sure if they have school expenses, so that might be something that you might want to plan for. What am I missing here, Prisca? You go ahead and jump on in.
So first off, for you to contribute to a Roth, you need to be earning income. So you don't, if they are not working and making money that is recognized by the federal government, then you cannot open a Roth, actually. I mean, you can open one, but you can't put money in it. But a Roth, if they are making any earned income, they can contribute up to how much they made in income. So if your child made $5,000, even though the limit for the year, this year is $7,000, it is $7,000, right?
75.
Yeah, 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just moved it up. Okay. $7,500, they could only contribute up to $5,000 to their Roth. So I want to be clear on that. And then, like she said, brokerage, there's no limitations to that. You could put money there. I, again, would want to, like she mentioned, whether or not there's school costs. What are they trying to do right now? Again, like always want to think about how we could enjoy this now while also being smart. So what are they doing right now that they would want to, maybe take $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 and do, right? And then when it comes to save, if they are in school, if there's any debts that we could just knock out right now, it's going to be, sometimes people are like, oh, I want to invest that way. I want to see it compound. But there's also the reverse thing of not, if debt is going to undo like all that effort. So the more you could stay out of debt, if there's something that they're schooling or anything that we could pay now so that you can avoid the debt down the future, ideal. Okay. Much better. And then in terms of savings, if there's something that you're just not sure what to do with it, park in a high yield savings account and call it a day. There's no harm in that, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself time to think about what you want to do. Just because you get the inheritance today doesn't mean you have to do something with it right now. Maybe you pick a thing or two and park the rest. We'll think about this in a year. That's always an option.
Yeah. I love that. No impulse decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we can kind of get into trouble sometimes. So,
Yeah,
and
that FOMO.
especially, when you're young, goodness knows what I was doing when I was 22, but when you're young, it's very easy to make impulse decisions. So, Christy, I'm so happy that your children have such a great mom they're probably looking to you for advice. So, kudos to you as a mom, because that is something, I probably may not have done at that age.
I know I wouldn't have at that age.
Yeah. So I love that. Hopefully they're looking to you for that guidance and for that input, and you can help steer them in the right direction and help them kind of put pause and say, let's really do this intentionally and let's think about it instead of making, an impulsive decision. Awesome. I know we got a couple of folks that just joined. So if you just joined, please go ahead and drop any questions that you have in the chat. We'll kind of go back. We got a couple of questions that came through beforehand. So we'll continue answering those, and then we'll keep an eye on the chat and kind of just go back and forth as we see them come up. Okay. So here's another one that we got when people have registered. It says, I tried bringing down my debt using the snowball method. Love the snowball method. Is there a better way to lower my debt? Because I would like to start saving. And we got a really similar question. I'll read that one as well. And we might be able to kind of combine some of these answers. And it says, getting out of debt when already working full time with a family and all money, kind of already going towards it, that can be challenging. So any ideas of like, how to decrease or deal with those challenges would be great. So for the snowball method, I'll go ahead and do a really quick definition, and then maybe I'll hand it over to you to kind of think about what other ways that we might be able to lower debt. So the snowball method is going to work by paying off the debt with the smallest balance first. So some pros, right? It gives you a nice like quick win. Usually you can do that hopefully within the first couple of months, and that gives you kind of some nice mental motivation to continue going on into your debt payoff journey, especially if you have multiple accounts that you are trying to pay off. You have 3, 4, 5 accounts, that can be super overwhelming. So really focusing on the one with the smallest balance first. Once that one's paid off, you go to the one with the next smallest balance, and so on and so forth. And so that's where it kind of gets that snowball idea as you're going down the hill. So what are some other ways that we can reduce debt? And I know you also put, it looks like a great maybe blog in the chat. So everybody feel free to click on that and save that for later too.
So one thing I just want to mention about the snowball method, very awesome, by the way, it is pretty effective because when people are starting off in their debt payoff journey, when they're being intentional, it can feel like a lot, it can feel very heavy, and it feels like endless. And the debt snowball makes it so you can take one debt out of the way really quickly, and then you're gonna not just start paying off the next debt, but use the money that you were using to pay off that first debt to the next one. And during this whole time, you're paying minimum payments on all your other debts, right? Because we do not want credit problems. We do not need the repo man out the door, okay? We pay minimum payments across all the debts except for that one that you put all the rest of your focus on. So when I talk about debt repayment with people, I actually start off with savings. And this was interesting that she or he, I don't know why I assumed the gender, said, I want to start saving. And my answer to that is that should have been happening. I know there's a lot of like things out there where it's, oh, you need to pay off debt before you can save money. It's to me the opposite, because what'll happen is things will come up because life is going to do that. Things will come up, and then you're not going to have the money except for the credit card that you're trying to pay down to use it to pay it down. So I actually, again, with the whole, if you were here earlier talking about like when you get money, put it in different buckets. Like, let's say you get, let's say your tax refund's coming and you're getting $1,000. Your biggest goal is to pay off debt. Maybe you take 80% of that and put it towards the debt, and then 20% you save. You have to save first. It must occur, because then again, if things come up, you don't want to be using that card. If you keep using the cards that you're paying off debt on, it's a mess.
Working backwards.
Yes. And so in order for you to be able to stop depending on those cards, you're going to need to have savings so that when things come up. Then you have to, of course, I'm sure any person who's actually doing the debt snowball method, you've done this already, but for the people who have not, you need to really take a look at what you're paying off debt-wise. This is going to be like, you're going to list everything. You're going to list the name of the debtor. You're going to list the the interest rate, the due date, the balance owed, the minimum payments. You want all those things listed. And then that's how you're going to decide how you're going to implement the debt snowball, right? So that we could have those things in order. Do you have to do debt snowball to get out of debt? No, there are different options, but it's a great option to get started. And then you do need a budget, because how do you make sure that you're going to pay all these things off consistently? All right. How are you going to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to just funnel whatever money I have left over and put extra here? No, we want to be intentional about it. So you need a budget. And that way too, you're not overspending in an area that's limiting you from paying off this debt. So these are things that need to come into play. Once you have all this in place and then you have this strategy, you will be successful killing the debt. Okay. I've seen people pay. I had one client that paid off like $30K of debt in 6 months. Okay.
Wow.
Just by snowballing. Yeah. but you're snowballing it and just being, it's so intentional about this money's done with, move to the next, move to the next, move to the next. And then in one instance, some people, they like pay a little bit extra on each card. Ooh, that's the
Yeah.
death of all your efforts, okay?
Yep.
The
I
death of all
agree.
your
That is
efforts.
such a big mistake that I see time
Yes.
and time again. So they pay like $15 more than the minimum payment on every, let's say you have
Yep.
5 accounts on every single account. And this is, again, working backwards.
Yes. So it's offsetting the whole snowball or even avalanche, whatever method you pick, it's making it less effective. So put all these things in place and you'll see your debt payoff journey go much faster. The other last thing, this is not mandatory, but it's so good for the psyche, is if you put all the stuff in a debt calculator, find out what your debt payoff date is. That
Yes.
is so helpful because when you're starting off your debt payoff journey, it feels like it's forever. It's never going to end. This is my life now. I'm a person that is in debt. It becomes your whole identity. But no, okay, if you have a debt payoff
Yes.
date, you know exactly when that's going to be. And then if you put any extra money towards it, you can actually put it in the calculator as well. Hey, how much sooner is my debt going to be paid off? But it
Yep.
gives you at least an end goal instead of just a vast, like you're looking at an ocean of debt.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we are in that debt payoff journey, you want like a targeted approach. I'm always like, think about like you're shooting down targets or something, right? We need to be like focused and serious and strategic. And even when we have that payoff date, right, we know exactly when it is. So we can see like our eyes are on the prize. And then even think about what's after that, right? Like really think about what is this doing? What is the end goal? What's your life going to look like after that? And kind of anchoring onto that because it is hard. And it's going to be, for many people, this is a long road. It's not something that's going to take 6 months. It could take a year. It could take a year and a half. So knowing what that journey after debt looks and what
Mhm.
that's going to open up for you and for your life can be huge. Two
That.
other things I want to mention on kind of debt pay down. One, don't discount looking for more income. I think a lot of
Hmm.
people tend to, when you're in that, debt pay down journey, you tend to really just go to what do I need to cut? What expenses am I cutting so that I can put more money toward debt, which is great. Maybe do that still, but also can you pick up a part-time job for 6 months? It, you know, I know these are not like glamorous things to always happen, but if you're really serious and you're really targeted toward it, these are, other options that you could have. Can you ask for a raise at work? Looking for potentially a new job, maybe selling something on the side. There's lots of things that you can do, Uber and Instacart and all sorts of different things that you can pick up to help speed all of this along. So don't discount looking for extra income when you're in that stage of paying down your debt. And then maybe one other thing to note is if you can automate any of this, automate it. If you can automate all of those minimum payments so you don't have to worry about those and you're just, maybe manually paying the one debt that you're really, really focused on, that also is helpful anytime we can automate and get things off of our plate.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add to when you said making more income. More income doesn't necessarily have to be more work.
Yeah.
When's the last time you got a raise at your job? When's the last time you asked for a raise at your job? That could be a simple way to increase income without doing any
Yes.
added effort except for the ask, right? And you do want to be strategic about that. There's YouTube videos on it. This is not my area of expertise. But if
Yeah.
you want to look about how to do this in the best way to increase your odds of actually getting a yes at your job. And then there are ways, of course, great suggestions on, the Uber Eats or the DoorDash and things like that. But you can also do things like if you have a degree, teaching, right,
Yep.
online is a way of not having to leave your house, but still making some extra income. And the one thing the person mentioned, that's why I brought up the, asking for more money where you work, because they're already working full time and all the money's already going towards
Yeah.
debt. It sounds heavy, right? Like where they feel like they're kind of maxed out. So what the heck am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get out of it? Other things to consider is actually reaching out to your creditors and seeing about
Mm,
decreasing the interest rate. Seeing it sometimes, especially now in times of this economic
yep.
instability, some people will allow you to pause payments for a little bit. So maybe you could put extra effort towards something else to shoot those debts down and then, come back to this debt. So there's a lot of strategies out there. I'm actually going to be hosting a free debt payoff challenge in February.
Oh,
So
awesome.
I am working on creating that. And so that way, to help people struggling, because debt is
Yeah.
just the killer of financial freedom. And I just want
It's
as many people to have financial freedom as possible.
agreed. It is a tough place to be in. And I remember it as well.
Mhm.
I've paid off over $30,000 of debt, in my early 30s. And I mean, I got a roommate. So that's one creative way that like a
Yes.
solution that I could do. So be creative. Really, you kind of have to think sometimes outside of the box for a solution that's going to work for you in a way that you can, make it work. But having a
Yeah.
plan, being focused, all good things. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Make sure you're dropping any other questions in the chat, but I don't see any right now. So I'm going to continue on to our list of questions that were pre-submitted. I really like this one. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. I have a couple of ideas, but it says interested in how AI can help with finances in what way you find it to be helpful. Sorry, I'm reading it off of here. So, how have you used AI to help with, I don't know, anything in
We're
the
not gonna like
finance
my
world?
answer.
Oh no, what do you think?
I use AI a lot in my business. I use it to ideate. I use it to help me like in terms of like drilling, like getting all my thoughts up here on paper in a way that makes sense to other people, right? But I don't think it's that great when it comes to finances. And what I've learned, actually, there was an article, I think last year in the New York Times, is that it I mean, in general, we know AI lies, right? It is
Yeah,
here to serve us and wants to tell us, hey, you're doing great and this is the right
flatter
thing.
us. Yeah.
Yes. And it doesn't want to ever say, I don't know the answer, And so for that reason, I don't trust it to run finances. I also, because I'm such an avid user of chat in general, like I use it to create meal plans for my workout routine and things like that. But when I went to Puerto Rico and I was like, hey, this is a fun use of AI. Let me put hey, this person ordered this person ordered this person ordered this. Tell me how much each person
Oh,
owes. And lo and
wow.
behold, that sucker could not get it right now one time. Okay.
Oh my
Not one time.
gosh.
Yes. So I think there's not to say there's no use for AI in finances at all, but this is not the area where I would use it as my final decision. Maybe as you're starting to be curious about money and you want to learn general concepts, like, hey, what's a debt snowball? I have these debts. If I were to implement this, how would I do it? But like how to actually optimize things, it can't because it doesn't experience things. It doesn't think, it learns, but it doesn't think, which is a nuance. Okay. Like it's learning based off like other people's content, what people have put on the internet. It's learning from
Yeah.
things like how to say things and how to, all the things, but it's not thinking, rationalizing really. So that missing part could be the difference between thousands of dollars that you might
Yeah.
save down the line or save when it comes to debt payoff or in investing. So yeah, I love chat. Okay. Me and him are buddies, right? But he's also an idiot. I just
Yeah.
is what it is.
All right. I'm down with your opinion. I've explored it some. I have not explored it a ton, I'll be honest, and creating plans for my clients or anything like that. I do love it to ideate, kind of saying, here's a high level view of this person's situation. These are some things that I'm recommending. What are some other things that I might be missing?
Yeah.
Maybe it might give one or two. The problem is that with AI, if you're looking for it for specific financial recommendations, you would literally have to sit there and put in your entire profile. How old are you? What are your values? What's your family situation like? What are your debt? I mean, you would have to fill out like some sort of like crazy profile. And even then, like you said, I have a feeling it wouldn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
Also, because personal finance is personal, right? So we're all going to make different decisions based on a lot of what we're feeling, a lot of what our money mindset what is and was and continues to develop to be, right? So I tend to agree with you in general, right? Really good for like general information. I also, the other place I have used it and I do like to use it this way is if you are searching, especially when you're investing, let's say you kind of know maybe
Mhm.
an asset allocation and you're searching for specific funds, it can kind of give you some good ideations. Again, you need to verify that, make sure the fund that you're
Yes.
searching for is, ideal for you and makes sense in a variety of other ways. But that has been helpful instead of like Googling and kind of going to different brokerage firms. Sometimes it's nice just to put it in Chat GPT and it can say, here are the top, index funds that track the US stock market or something along
Hmm.
those lines. So that has been helpful. Maybe I need to be able to play around with it a little bit more. I'm not sure. Have you got, drop in the chat if you have used AI for any sort of financial questions and how have you found it?
I also want to add too that now Google or a lot of search engines anyway have the AI built in so that you could do something like, hey, what are the, like for example, if you've decided I want to invest in VTSAX like fund, but I'm Bank with Fidelity, what is the, right thing to do? Like what is the right ETF? What is the right mutual index fund for me to do at Fidelity, right? Those are the things that it can be very useful for. And in the set, and to piggyback off what Genevieve said about not you have to put your whole profile in, it still couldn't do a great job because it's they're gonna use somebody else's profile to reference what you should be doing.
Yeah.
It can't ideate. So it's just not gonna be effective at creating the plan that best fits you.
Yeah, I agree. But, hey, maybe one day, just not today. We could be saying something in a year. Who knows what's going to happen?
Mm.
You never know. All right. We are coming right up to about time. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but if you guys have any, oh, here we go. All right. Erica says, I recently started a side gig. The company deems me a contractor. Okay. I believe it is my responsibility as far as filing income taxes, but I am not certain. So, yes, that would be your responsibility. Most of the time, as a contractor, and I am not a CPA, so please, obviously double check with a CPA or if you're using Tax Act or, TurboTax, any of those things, they can give you some more information as well. But they should be able to give you a tax document at the end of the year that you will kind of like loop in and you're going to file along with your W 2 and all of your other forms. Feel free to add anything else I might have missed
No,
there.
I was just gonna say that. If you do any side jobs, that at the end of the year they'll give you, I don't remember the name of the form either, but they'll give you where the
It's a
total amount, 1099.
1099
Yes.
something.
Yes. I don't remember which letter it is, but it's
Yes,
1099.
sorry,
And
it's
you'll
escaped
file that
me.
with your taxes like Genevieve said.
Yes,
All right. So at the same time too, keep in mind that you want to put aside some of that income for taxes because you will owe because that is income unless this gets complicated, but if you do any kind of pre-tax investing like in a retirement account, then that may offset each other.
bring
But
down
in
a little bit.
general, yeah, but in general I would just say take 20% and just put it in a high yield savings account. In a high yield savings account, labeled taxes. So don't touch it until taxman comes and gets his money. Then you can have the rest.
There you go. I like it.
Yep.
Cool.
Awesome.
Great job, Erica. Thank you for getting a side gig. We were just talking about that as, one of the ways to help, either expedite paying down debt or really accomplish any of your other financial goals. So, way to go. I love that.
Yep.
What other questions do we have? We're 2 minutes out, so you got it's the last of it. While you guys are thinking, I will also, I know one thing we wanted to do was add in some resources for you all. So we've had a couple of links. So make sure if you haven't seen those in the chat, go through the chat, click on those links, make sure you can save that. I'm going to also be adding in my 12-step money guide. So it includes templates. We talked a lot about like cash flow planning and trying to figure out your net worth and gain a good view of what your numbers look like. This money guide has all of those templates in there. It makes it very easy to kind of start that journey, figure out, what your debts are, kind of lay all that information out there if that's part of your journey as well. Right. Prisca, I don't think we have any other questions. If you do, feel free just to email us, and I'm always open by email. You can follow us on social media. DMs are open. Give me a
Oh,
day
we
or
should put
two.
our
I don't
socials in
check
here
them
too,
everywhere.
so they could
Yes,
follow.
yes. Let me go ahead and copy and paste, and I will place that in there.
So I can be found at LinkedIn and Instagram. So I'll put both those links in there. And again, the whole goal, at least in my business, my focus is helping women to achieve financial freedom without basically hating their lives. Okay. I want you to have a great life today while also securing your future, and you can have it all despite what anybody tells you. Okay. I'm a huge believer of you can have it all, but you can't. What is it? I think Paula Pant.
Can have it all, but not all at once.
Yep. Okay. So you do want to prioritize things, but it doesn't mean you have to live a small life in order to be successful with your finances.
Yeah, 100%. I went ahead and threw my link in there as well. So you can find me on Instagram. My handle is holistic.personal.finance. I will be opening one-on-one coaching spots soon. So if that's something you've ever been curious about, keep an eye on that because the link will be coming out soon. You can join the wait list also through Instagram as well. And obviously lots of free content all over the place on there too. Wonderful. I think that'll close us up. Thank you so much for everybody for joining live. Thank you for anybody who is watching the replay. We appreciate all the questions. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun. This was a great time, and everybody have a wonderful rest of your night. Thanks, guys.
Yes, and be safe. Be safe if it's snowing where you're going, where you
Yes,
live.
that's right.
That's
Yes,
getting nutty.
exactly. All right, guys, have a great night.